Good evening. We'll call the meeting to order. If you'd all please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Sean, will you please call roll?
Deputy Mayor Baggett?
Here.
Councilmember Brown?
Here.
Councilmember DeCoursey?
Here.
Councilmember Holman?
Here.
Councilmember Pelosa?
Not sure.
Councilmember Trapp-Manuel?
Here.
And Councilmember Wells?
Here.
All right, we have one presentation this evening, and it is not on the agenda, but it is from the Masons, and so I am going to head over to the podium and ask that they join me. Right. This is Mr. Michael Palco-Dean. I'm going to turn it over to you to share a little bit about why you are here this evening.
Thank you, Mayor. Masonry and Freemasonry in Auburn actually predates the city. We were first given dispensation to start meeting in 1889, received our charter in 1890. The two organizations, the city and the Lodge of Masons, have a long history together. 11 mayors of this town were members of King Solomon Lodge.
You found more.
4 of them are past masters, serving as master like I am this year. One of them, we see his name every time you go over to the Parks Department, Leslie Gove. Another Mason we named a ball field after, Frank Fulmer. Many businessmen in town. Back in the 50s, if you wanted to buy a car, you were talking to a brother Mason. Matson, Scarf, Bothell, all of them were. And it used to be a joke at Lodge that they were not allowed to do any car selling at the meeting. So one of the brothers would say, I'm thinking about buying a car. You know, you guys could do that afterwards. So what we have here is our Grand Master this year, to raise money for our Masonic youth groups, has asked lodges to purchase a copy of the Lansdowne portrait of George Washington, which is the most famous one. It is the portrait that Dolly Madison cut out of the frame when the British were about ready to burn the White House. That was actually copy number 4, but not the original. The original, it's kind of interesting, is Lansdowne was ordered by Lord Lansdowne, a British aristocrat, an English aristocrat. And even though George Washington had just beat them in a war, he considered him such an honorable man, he wanted a picture of him. Very few people know this. So at this time, I would like to present to the city of Auburn a copy of the George Washington of the Lansdowne portrait, to be hung wherever you feel is appropriate. And we just ask that you put the little plaque that says presented by the Freemasons of Auburn with it. As we are going into our 130th year, city, you're not far behind us. You're going into your 128th. So
That's right.
We are just here to celebrate how many years we have been working together, and hopefully we'll continue to work together.
Thank you very much. We are honored, and we will find a place of honor for this. Would you like a photo with council? I bet your fellow Masons would like
They'll be yelling at me if I didn't go back, but the Grand Master would be going, you presented one, and you didn't get a picture? Or maybe the first time I've been in trouble with my shirt.
Do you want them up there or down here? Up here would be best. Down here, okay.
Uh-oh.
I would like everybody to stand. Hey, we just need to stay.
Picture. Another very famous thing about this portrait, if you ever look at the Washington State flag and the Washington State seal, that's the George Washington face that they used. He just copied the Gilbert.
Come on, Bill. Bill, come get in the middle. I feel funny sitting over there. You know? You get in the, yes, Deputy Mayor, yes. I feel a lot.
No, we're talking about me again.
There we go.
Hold it, wait.
Your lip okay? Everybody's hair okay? Lick your lips, smile big. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Give all the kids in the school district. Thank you.
Thank you, neighbor.
Were you up there?
Reading oysters.
We've had our meetings down here for I don't know how many years.
No.
Oh,
So I don't get separated.
Okay.
And we just were guests over at the Masonic Temple just about a little over a month ago for King County's Conservation Awards. And the Masons received an award.
It's an award for restoration.
For restoration of, yes. And for those of you that aren't aware, the wood that is around all of the entrances, or almost all of them, there's still one left, I believe, entrances is back to its natural glory. And the carpenters who did that work are Masons out of Tacoma. And much of that wood was very old wood. I mean, hundreds of years old. They were telling me the story of how many rings there were on the wood that they were using, and so that makes it even more special. It wasn't new wood to make it look like the old construction. It was old wood used to bring it back to its former glory. And we thank you for all of the work that the Masons do in Auburn on behalf of students as well as the greater community. Thank you. All right. We will move on to appointments. The Parks and Recreation Board, City Council to confirm the appointment of Katie Helton to the Parks and Recreation Board for a 3-year term to expire December 31st, 2021. Do we have a motion? Councilmember Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I move the appointment of Katie Helton to the Parks and Recreation Board.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember Trout Manuel.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Councilmember Brown, did you have anything that you wanted to say?
We just appreciate. Thank you, Mayor. We appreciate citizens like Katie Helton who step up and volunteer their time to make this a better city.
We certainly do. Are there any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of the appointment of Katie Helton to the Parks and Recreation Board for a 3-year term to expire December 31st, 2021, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Passes. And just as a note, Mr. Palco Dean is also on our Parks Board, so thank you for your personal service to the community as well. All right, we will move on. Do we have any agenda modifications this evening, Sean? All right, citizen input, public hearings, and correspondence. Tonight we have one public hearing. It is a public hearing on the 2019-2020 preliminary biennial budget. City Council to conduct a final public hearing to receive public comments, proposals, and suggestions on the 2019-2020 preliminary biennial budget. And for those who want a reference, that's ordinance number 6693 and ordinance number 6694. All right, I don't believe there is a presentation by staff, Shelley?
No, there is not. We've had several, and it's on tonight, and we hope that it passes.
All right, thank you. I will open the public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to speak on the 2019-2020 preliminary biennial budget? Anyone would like to speak? All right, seeing none, we will close the public hearing, and we will move on to audience participation. This is the place on the agenda where the public is invited to speak to the City Council on any issue. Those wishing to speak are reminded to sign in on the form provided, and please limit comments to 3 minutes. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Okay.
Yes, my name is Bob Zimmerman, 33029 46th Place South in Auburn. Recently I got a I still get the mail from when I was contracting, warnings, about call before you dig and watch for pipelines and so on and so forth. And when I got that, I got it shortly after the city denied, I finally, without any cooperation really from anybody in the city, finally found the code that where it applied to the propane pooling issue along the fence. And of course they denied that. They said they wanted to get the perpetrator's permission to do an extensive survey, and anybody that knows anything about hazardous atmospheres knows you can pretty well evaluate that off Google Maps. You don't need an extensive survey to do evaluation of a hazardous atmosphere. I mean, it's ridiculous. But anyway, I'm beginning to realize that there's probably nothing we can do to make this city safe from those kind of hazards. I mean, if they're going to deny things that are that simple, you need to get some people that understand these codes, okay? Now, that was part of my job when I was an electrician for 10 years, was understanding hazardous atmospheres. And it's just appalling to me that you have people making these kind of judgments about these kind of issues that absolutely have no idea what they're doing. I mean, you need to have some kind of an evaluation, where you get performance-based people, not credential-based people. And the fire department should really be the people that do this, not your building department. And I just can't believe that that they would deny that this is a hazard, because propane is heavier than air, and it does not dissipate into the atmosphere like natural gas does. Now, everybody says, well, you don't know what the hell you're doing because you're just an electrician. Well, during that career, I did a lot of evaluations of critical things that had a lot to do with jobs. You got to interface electricity with the real world because it's totally worthless by itself. One of the things that they credited me with was shutting down a multi-million-dollar job, preventing a bankruptcy of a national corporation that made cans, and that would have crippled the Northwest bottling and brewing industry. Okay, that has nothing to do with electrician. That has something to do with having good judgment. Okay, it looks like my time's up, but we certainly need to get some people in that building department that have some judgment. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Final time, anyone else like to speak? All right, we will move on. We have no correspondence this evening that I have seen. So we will move on to Council Ad Hoc Committee reports. Council Ad Hoc Committee chairs may report on the status of their ad hoc council committee's progress on assigned tasks and may give their recommendation to the City Council, if any. And we currently have one ad hoc committee, and that is Finance. Councilmember Brown.
Thank you, Mayor Backus. The Finance Committee reviewed 170 claims vouchers and 4 wire transfers from the voucher report dated 12/03/2018 for a total amount of $1,625,986. Of note on this claim voucher list was a final payment of $10,500. That is for the new ADA compliant restrooms at Les Gove Park. All claims were reviewed and were reasonable and in good order. Payroll vouchers from 11/15 through 11/28/2018 were also reviewed. There were 14 checks and 532 direct deposits and 7 associated electronic funds transfers for tax, retirement, etc. The total for the payroll expenditure was $2,643,000. The Finance Committee would like to recommend approval.
Thank you, Councilmember. All right, we will move to the consent agenda. Excuse me. All matters pardon me. All matters listed on the consent agenda are considered by the City Council to be routine and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. Do we have a motion? Deputy Mayor Baggett.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember Pelosi?
Second, Mayor.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Baggett.
Thank you, Your Honor. We have 6 items on the consent agenda tonight. The minutes of the May 8th, 2017, and May 22nd, October 29th, May 8th, 2017, May 22nd, 2017, October 29th, 2018, and November 13th, 2018 study session. The minutes from the October 29th, 2018 Special City Council meeting, and the minutes of the November 19th, 2018 regular council meeting. We have the claims vouchers and the payroll vouchers mentioned by Councilmember Brown. And we have the Recology contract, which is the agreement between the City of Auburn and Recology Cleanscapes for a litter control and recycling program.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Councilmember Trout Manuel.
I just wanted to make something clear. Did you say restaurants or restrooms?
That was restrooms.
Okay, I thought you said restaurants, and I'm.
It could be my cold.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Passes. All right, we have no unfinished business, but tonight we do have new business. First on the agenda is selection of the deputy mayor for 2019. I believe in the 16.1 or 16.2? 12.1. 12.1. That wasn't the option I gave you, but all right. So annually or more often as deemed appropriate, the members of the City Council by majority vote shall designate one of their members as deputy mayor for a one-year time period, except as provided in Section 12.1, paragraph G and H herein. So let's see. There is... Any member of the City Council may be nominated for the position of deputy mayor by having that council member's name placed in nomination by a council member, providing that the name of the most senior member of the City Council who has not previously served as deputy mayor shall automatically be placed in nomination for the position of deputy mayor. The nomination of a council member for the position of deputy mayor does not require a second, and a council member may nominate him or herself. And I believe that means automatically on the ballot tonight, unless there is a declining of that. Councilmember Pelosi, who is the longest-serving council member and has not been deputy mayor, will automatically be placed on the ballot. And so are there any other or first of all, Councilmember Pelosi, do you accept the nomination?
I do.
All right. Are there any other nominations for deputy mayor for 2019? I hear none, so it appears that we have one nomination for deputy mayor for 2019. All those in favor of the deputy mayor for 2019 being Councilmember Bill Pelosi, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Passes. Congratulations, Councilmember Deputy Mayor-elect Pelosi. And now, along with that, if council remembers last year, seating assignments for city council meetings are also a responsibility of council. And so there is, in your council rules and procedures, thank you, that's the part where there is to be an ad hoc committee that will be assigned by the current deputy mayor to come up with the 2019 seating assignments and to be brought back to the city council at our next council meeting on December 17th for a vote. So Deputy Mayor, I will ask you to appoint an ad hoc committee.
Thank you, Your Honor. So that we don't get into a little fiasco like we had last time around, I think that it would be good to create an ad hoc committee for this purpose. And I would like to recommend that Councilmember Brown and Deputy Mayor-elect Bill Pelosa be in attendance. And I would like to place myself on that committee.
And that is appropriate because, as I remember, deputy mayors typically are
Ex officio.
ex officio, thank you, I was searching for the word, ex officio members anyway.
Right.
All right. So we have a 3-member ad hoc committee. Are all 3 members willing to accept their duties on the ad hoc committee?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. One other thing in Rule 2.1 is the ad hoc committee for seating arrangements is specific to regular meetings. Rule 2.2 talks about seating for study sessions and does not have any provision for assigning them other than, actually it doesn't have any provisions at all. So one thing the council could choose to do if you want is to ask the ad hoc committee on seating to make recommendations for study session seating, but you are not required to do so. You can do that at the study sessions on an ad hoc basis.
Which is what we typically do, is the chair, the deputy mayor and the special focus area chair are the only ones that are permanently placed. All right. All right, so we will move forward then. Councilmember Holman.
One more item of potential new business. Larry Brown and I are on the Ad Hoc Finance Committee. Ad Hoc is a temporary committee. We've been on it for a year now. I think perhaps it's time we rotate that responsibility. Not that I don't mind going over spreadsheets.
Deputy Mayor, would you like to appoint a new ad hoc committee? You're talking about for 2019,
I
correct?
think most everybody here on the dais has been a member of that committee at one time or another, so I think we may be back to the round robin portion of this thing. So I would like to appoint Councilmember Wales.
So this is an ad hoc, so this is an appointment by the deputy mayor. I mean, you can choose not to be on the ad hoc committee, but the appointments are by the deputy mayor.
Councilmember Wales would be my first choice, and Councilmember DeCourcy.
Did you notice everybody averted their eyes from you, Deputy Mayor?
I'm not finished appointing yet, but
So it's-
I thought you only needed 2.
well, we can only have, we
You-
only
you
really
can-
require 2, so I guess that's the way we've had it for the last several times since I've come on board.
Okay.
So, yeah, that would be fine. Discussion.
Councilmember Wales?
Thank you. I think that I have no problem with that, but what I'd like to see us do is do it, the appointment done in combination as we look at the matrix and see if we're going to change some of the other groups so that we can assure that there's kind of an equal load. Do you understand what I'm saying?
So the special focus areas, you will be determining your special focus area assignments next week at the study session. So there is typically the opportunity at that point in time to ensure that everybody has a balanced workload for those that wish to be involved and for those that do not wish to be involved in special focus areas. As part of your discussion next week. So, Councilmember DeCourcy, Councilmember Wales, do you accept your positions on ad hoc finance?
Yes.
Yes, all right. And as a reminder, the ad hoc, you can determine the length that you will be on that ad hoc committee. This time it was a year-long assignment, but in the past it has been changed either quarterly or twice a year. So that can be a determination. The ad hoc committee members can request that the deputy mayor or the deputy mayor can make those determinations at any time. Okay. All right, we will move on to ordinances. Mr. City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance number 6703, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Auburn, Washington, amending the 2017-2018 biennial budget ordinance.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? Councilmember Holman.
Yes, I move for the adoption of ordinance number 6703.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Deputy Mayor Baggett.
Second that, Your Honor.
Thank you. Councilmember Holman.
Yes, this is the regular quarterly budget adjustment, and it involves, it's actually the seventh and final budget amendment for the 2017-2018 biennial. It's the fourth budget amendment for this year, fourth and final, and it's one that deals with the transfer of funds between accounts and the expenditure of contingency funds for some construction projects that were delayed because of strikes, or a strike.
Thank you. And just as a follow-up, this will be the last budget amendment that is made in 2018, but there are follow-up budget amendments truing up of the 2018, correct, ending fund balances, and perhaps one other budget amendment. Shelley?
Not for 2018. We'll true up the ending fund balances in the June 2019, which would be budget amendment number 2 in the 1920 budget. So the
Okay.
2018 year-end balances will become the 2019 actual
Beginning
beginning
budget.
fund, and then we have to bring those actuals forward, and we do that
Okay.
in June.
Great, thank you. All right, are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of ordinance number 6703, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Passes.
Ordinance number 6693, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Auburn, Washington, adopting the 2019-2020 biennial operating budget of the City of Auburn, Washington.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? Councilmember Holman.
Yes, I moved for the adoption of ordinance number 6693.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember Pelosi.
I'll second it, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Holman.
Yes, this is to approve the budget for 2019 and 2020. It will establish the city's operating budget for the next 2 years. The council has been reviewing this, at 5 different study sessions. We started working on it in July. The department directors have been working on it far longer than this. And the 2019 budget is unchanged from 2018 and comes in at slightly over $90 million. The 2020 segment of this budget takes a 2.8% decrease and comes in at $87.6 million.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of ordinance number 6693, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Passes, and I want to say thank you and congratulations to all of the department directors and your teams and council for your work in passing what we believe to be a very fair and equitable budget that takes into account the best utilization of the funds that these residents have instilled in us. So thank you very much, and I applaud you. And Shelley, a huge thank you to you and your team for all of the work, all of the late nights putting those budgets together and answering all the questions and making it a readable document. All right, Mr. City Attorney, moving on.
Ordinance number 6694, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Auburn, Washington, adopting the 2019-2020 biennial capital budget for the City of Auburn, Washington.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? Councilmember Holman. Oh.
Yes, I move to for the adoption of ordinance 6694.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember Pelosi.
I'll second it, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Holman.
This is for the 2019-2020 capital budget. Now, we just passed an operating budget, and the difference is the capital budget is building things, streets, parks, water lines, sewer lines, local revitalization, the cemetery. And this is our capital budget. 2019, it's 87 million, and 2020, it's 67 million.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of ordinance number 6694, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Passes, and again, congratulations on a job well done.
She's cheering.
Resolution number 5391, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Auburn, Washington, authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement between the City of Auburn and the Auburn Symphony Orchestra for tourism promotion services.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? Okay, Councilmember Pelosi?
Thank you, Mayor. I move for the adoption of Resolution 5391.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember DeCoursey?
I'll second the motion, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you. Councilmember Pelosi?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This allocates $75,000 to the operation of the Auburn Symphony. And the symphony's in its 22nd year, and the City of Auburn has supported the symphony since the beginning.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of resolution number 5391, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Passes.
Resolution number 5392, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Auburn, Washington, authorizing the mayor to execute an amendment to the lease agreement between the City of Auburn and Classic Helicopter Corporation.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? Councilmember Brown.
Thank you, Mayor Backus. Yes, I'd like to move the resolution, the adoption of Resolution 5392.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember Trout Manuel.
I second that, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a great example, this resolution is, of the city working with one of our businesses to meet the evolving needs of both the city and the business. Specifically, in 2018, the city and council decided to bring management of the Auburn Airport in-house. In an effort to provide office space for the new airport manager, Classic expressed a willingness to relinquish a portion of the office space they have occupied in return for removal of future development agreement which no longer met their need and any other requirements of the agreement from the lease. I urge the adoption.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? All right, all those in favor of resolution number 5392, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Passes.
Resolution number 5393, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Auburn, Washington, authorizing the mayor to execute an amendment to the lease agreement between the City of Auburn and Span-A-Flight, LLC.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? Councilmember Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, this is a very, I move the adoption of Resolution 5393.
Thank you. And do we have a second? Councilmember Holman.
Second.
Thank you. Councilmember Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. This resolution is a very straightforward resolution. Simply put, this resolution will extend the lease for Span-A-Flight LLC, which has been at the airport since 2016 for fixed-wing flight training operations. The current term is set to expire December 31st. Span-A-Flight has approached the city expressing interest for extending that lease through 2020, a calendar year. It's very timely considering that the city is taking over management of the airport, and I urge the approval.
Thank you. Questions or comments? All those in favor of resolution number 5393, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. That passes.
Resolution number 5394, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Auburn, Washington, adopting the 2019 Community Development Block Grant Action Plan for the consolidated plan years 2015 through 2019.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? Councilmember Trout Manuel.
I move to adopt resolution number 5394. I move to adopt resolution number 5394.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember Wales.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Councilmember Trout Manuel.
This resolution number 5394 has to do with the Housing and Urban Development HUD Annual Action Plan, which is required by us to entitle, it's called the CDBG funds, and every year we give funds out to the nonprofit organizations, and I make a motion that we accept this funds, this motion.
Thank you. Yes, motion has been made and seconded. Are there any questions or comments? Councilmember DeCoursey.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just like to say, ever since President Nixon established the CDBG, it's been kind of an up and down process all those years, and I'd like to commend Joy and Dana for doing the outstanding job they've done for the city of making sure that we meet all of our targets and to put together a real action plan that's very workable.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of resolution number 5394, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Passes. Congratulations, and I echo Dana and Joy. Thank you for all of the work that you have put into this, along with the rest of your team. All right. All joy. It's all joy. Not for joy. We're jumping for joy. We're jumping for joy. All right. That concludes the business portion of the meeting, and so we will move on to mayor and council member reports. At this time, the mayor and city council may report on significant items associated with their appointed positions on federal, state, regional, and local organizations. We will begin with Deputy Mayor Baggett.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no report tonight, but I just wanted to make a statement that having served as the city's deputy mayor, I wanted to thank the council and thank the city for allowing me to have the privilege and the honor of serving in that capacity for the last year. And I'm sure, and I wish council member and Deputy Mayor-elect Bill Pelosa all the best, and if there's anything I can do to support him, just let me know. Thank you.
Thank you. And Deputy Mayor Baggett, I want to thank you as well for your year of service in the deputy mayor role. We know that it's not always the easiest of roles to take on, but we do appreciate your service and your willingness to be involved on numerous levels.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we will move to Councilmember DeCoursey.
Thank you, Mayor. This is going to be a little bit dated, but since Councilmember Brown and I were both out at the last City Council meeting, give you a quick update. Councilmember Brown and I last month attended the senior coffee hour, and we had a very small group. In fact, we didn't meet in the room we normally meet in. We went out in the main area by the coffee bar and met out there with some ladies. And they were very inquisitive, asked a lot of questions, and their main concern that morning was issues related to senior housing and issues related to homelessness. So we explained to them what the city is doing, the action that we're taking, the plans we have in place, and I gave a little bit of background on affordable housing and how that's working and why it does sometimes work and why it does sometimes not work. But we told them we would keep them informed as we go back to the future coffee hours, because they were asking a lot of questions, and they said they will continue to ask questions. One lady in particular was impacted greatly by her rent being increased tremendously, and it was difficult for her to make her rent payments, and she finally had to find another place to live that was somewhat more affordable, but still, being on a fixed income, it's still very stressful for her. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember DeCoursey. Councilmember Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. And I would also continue that report a little bit, add to it that I'm very impressed with the work done by our senior center and the amount of traffic in there, the amount of activities, the variety of activities. it is very impressive. I'm proud to live in a city that provides this kind of service to our seniors. And, you know, we're either seniors or we're hoping to get there. So I just want to say thank you to the folks that work at the Senior Center.
Thank you, Councilmember Brown, and sometimes we become seniors before we even realize it. All right, Councilmember Holman.
Thank you, Mayor. No real report other than to wish everybody the happiest of holidays. I attended the Santa Parade and Christmas tree lighting, which was a great kickoff of this holiday season. And today is the first day of Hanukkah. So happy holidays to one and all.
Thank you. Councilmember Wales.
Thank you, Your Honor. I followed with the mayor. We attended the Red, White, and Blue holiday concert that was on December 2nd, put on by our state National Guard. There are 8,000 National Guard in our state, and they help with natural disasters, emergency assistance, and anything that the governor may see fit to assist us with. I thought it was interesting that the National Guard's presence was first felt here in the Washington Territory in the 1600s. They played 2.5 hours. They were incredible, and they finished up with a John Sousa march. I was hoping to hear more marches, but they finished up with the John Sousa Christmas march. It's a great way to start the holidays. The next issue that I'd like to share, and especially with Ingrid and I don't know if Jeff Tate's involved with the airport, but in the most recent issue of the Flying Magazine that most of the pilots of small planes, I don't know, maybe large planes too, get, is there's a training and technique chart-wise illustrating the Auburn library.
Not the library.
Not the library.
Not the library.
But our airport, talking about some of its little idiosyncrasies and its greatness. So it's nice to see that this may even be international if it's in our library or landing in our library. So I'm going to share this with Ingrid so that she can see also how famous we are. You probably already guessed this, John. So when my husband saw it, he got real excited, and so did I, because it talks about how great our airport is. And now that we are taking it over as a city, I think, and with Ingrid's leadership and Jeff Tate, is Jeff Tate going to help you with this, or is it just you?
It's under Public Works, so Jeff will help with some of the planning activities around the airport, but not with the management.
But you're going to be, yeah. So I think that we have it in great hands, and I'm very, very excited, and I'll share this, I'll give this to you after the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Trout Manuel.
I, as John, attended the Christmas and several of our council members and the Christmas parade and the tree lighting, and I found it to be one of our largest group that I thought of people there, because I looked over to the left, clear past where the tree was, and you could see people all crowded over there. And then you could see them way past where the coffee shop, the candy store is. They were just piled there. Then over to our left as well. And to me, it seemed like it was one of our largest attendance. And I really enjoyed seeing the kids out there in the ice skating ring. And I was ready to go and put my skates on, but my doctor told me no. My ankles are not strong enough. So that really disappointed me. But I just found out tonight that they have some little like walkers. So I may go out there and do it with the walker.
If you do, council member, please let us know. Yes.
Anyway, that is my report. And I as well want to wish everybody out there Feliz Navidad and happy holidays.
Thank you. And remember, we do have one more council meeting before the end of the year. We are not meeting on December 31st or December 24th, but we do have one more council meeting. Councilmember Pelosa.
Thank you, Mayor. I attended the South County Area Transportation Board a couple weeks ago, and we had a discussion on our 2019 legislative agenda. It will be coming, a draft report will be coming to us on the 18th of December at which time Congressman Adam Smith is going to come and talk to us. That's always fun to hear from him because he pretty much tells it like it is. And then we had the Metro bus service general manager, Rob Gannon, spoke to us. He wants to bring together multiple agencies to improve Metro service. He's really deeply into this. He wants to also extend Metro throughout the region. Because you have people, cities like Maple Valley, nothing. And other little cities and towns that do not have Metro service. But he's all hot to trot. He wants to extend and build an operating bus base in South King County to improve efficiencies. You know, we all see empty buses run around and we think, boy, there goes our tax dollars. Well, that's because they got to go from A back to B, Seattle, for the bus barn. And they're also working on making better connections for people in the different communities so they don't have to wait a half hour for a bus. Of course, that's going to cost more revenue, more funding, but they're looking into it. Metro, and I didn't realize this until he said this, Metro is a standalone department within King County. I didn't realize that, but now its own department. So. Also, there was a big presentation, and I have a PowerPoint up on the council mail counter about the viaduct closure and Highway 99. Man, it's going to be gridlock for 3+ weeks. I mean, they've been saying 3 weeks. Now I read some information recently. It's going to be maybe a tad bit longer. And you know, I can remember as a young fledgling employee working for the Boeing company, I'd use that viaduct from Seattle to and from. And it was a beautiful, beautiful highway. Now it's going to be torn down, so anyway. So the 3-week plus close, I covered that. We're going to have total gridlock, and they want drivers to be patient. You know, I mean, to be patient. I was at a stop sign up by Lee Hill a couple days ago, and this guy was pounding his horn on me. Just, come on, move out, move out. Well, the red light, man, you know. So, one more significant item, and that is tolls on Highway 99, the tunnel, will begin mid-2019. There will not be toll booths, but just license plate ID for billing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, one more. I'm sorry.
Nope, you've already given up your time. You've given over your time.
Gad, zooks. There's an, you didn't mention it, but there is an airport open house on December 14th. They're going to have refreshments and probably some snacks, noon to 2 p.m.
At the airport or the library?
Airport. December 14th. That's my wife's birthday, so noon to 2 p.m. You can shake the hand of the retiring manager and welcome in the new manager, the new city employee manager. Thank you, Mayor.
You're done now? You're sure? Okay. So, last week, after our study session the following morning, Dana Hinman, our Director of Administration, and I got on a quick plane to Washington, D.C., the other Washington, to meet with some of our representatives. And at the airport, before we boarded the plane, we had the opportunity to have some of those conversations because our own Congressman Dave Reichert was there. We had Executive Constantine, who was planning to testify at a Senate hearing on health care, and also Representative Pramila Jayapal were all on that plane. And so the Tuesday morning plane to D.C. is usually packed with a few people you might recognize, but we had a chance to have some of those conversations in advance. But when we were back in D.C. on Wednesday, we had a very full day. We met with Congressman Reichert to thank him for for his service to the 8th Congressional District, especially what he has done for the city of Auburn. And as you probably know, he lives in Auburn. And so it was kind of bittersweet going back and being able to see him one last time. He had one more flight that he'll take tomorrow, will be his last flight to D.C. as representing Congress. And so he's excited for what he's going to be able to do moving forward as a private citizen, but we know that we haven't heard the last of him. He will be very busy in the community, especially his goal is to be working in the international human trafficking, because as you know, he was a sheriff, a King County sheriff, prior to being our in Congress for us, and that is his passion, is trying to eliminate human trafficking, and it's a significant issue, and he is a formidable opponent. We also met with Congressman Adam Smith and talked with him about some transportation and military items. We met with Senator Cantwell and her staff talking about affordable housing and opportunities for partnering together infrastructure needs. And one of the things that Senator Cantwell talked about, which I thought was very interesting, we were talking about education and the jobs initiative that we're doing in Auburn with cities and schools. And we were talking about some of the high school graduation requirements, and she has a goal of being able to have the option of coding being the high school language to meet the language requirement instead of Spanish or French or German or Japanese, but to be able to utilize coding as their language requirement. I thought that was very innovative. Of course, coming from her background being in tech, that would make sense. But she was very, very enthusiastic, probably the most well-rested that I have seen Senator Cantwell in quite a while. We also met with Senator Murray, talked about veterans issues, infrastructure, affordable housing, arts and culture, perhaps funding for our Arts and Culture Center that's just north of the Auburn Avenue Theater. We also met with Congressman Kilmer from the 6th Congressional District. While he does not represent us, he works on behavioral health issues, and he was a member of the South Sound Behavioral Health Coalition. So we had an opportunity to work with him extensively on the hospital that's being built on the Allen Moore site. And so we always like to go back and meet with those, not just the ones that represent us, but that have similar interests and perhaps opportunities for partnerships. On Thursday, before we flew back, we met with the U.S. Department of Transportation. Beautiful new, well, it's not brand new now, it's about 10 years old, but it's a huge building. We were there to talk about some of the funding needs for our roads in the city of Auburn, and the fact that we are not rural in nature specifically, and we are not urban in nature specifically. And so sometimes we fall between the cracks on the grant programs that are available. Tiger grants, which, Council, I know you're all familiar with, we compete with the larger agencies like Sound Transit, Metro on those limited dollars. And so there is talk about having a Tiger Cub grant program. So I would be, well, hopefully CUTE means a lot of dollars available for cities of our size who don't necessarily compete well against the large transit agencies. So stay tuned for that. And then after we left DOT, we went and met with our National League of Cities representatives to talk about transportation and homelessness and infrastructure needs, affordable housing. And so we finished up on a good note, got on a plane home that night, And want to thank Washington 2 Advocates, our consultants who set up all of the meetings for us and help to prep us as they do for your trips to Olympia and also to Washington, D.C. Let's see. And then Saturday night, as you mentioned, was the Santa Parade. And thanks to Caleb for being our tree lighter. He attends Dick Scobie Elementary. And I forgot to mention that former council member Bud Larson passed away the week of Thanksgiving. And he served on the council. And before council member Wagner, he was the longest serving council member at 16 years. He started in 1975 and retired in 1991. He was responsible, once the airport became Auburn's municipal airport, he was responsible for getting the funding to pay off the debt on that airport. And that happened with our representatives in Washington, D.C. At the time, it was our Senator Henry Scoop Jackson. And so working with Scoop, he was able to get the funding to pay off the debt on the airport. So those relationships that we build with our representatives are paramount to us being successful in the city. And then speaking of relationships, today I had a great opportunity to host former Governor Christine Gregoire. She, as you may know, was a resident of Auburn, graduated from Auburn High School. So she wanted to come in and talk about our initiative that we have on family wage jobs that we're working on through cities and schools. Also some other things with middle income. There will be more to come on that. I can't say anything more about it right now. But very excited to be able to work with Governor Gregoire. And she asked for a tour of Auburn High School, her alma mater. And so we went down and took about a 1-hour tour. We specifically were focusing on the career and technical education programs. So we toured the automotive shop. We went to the woodworking shop. We toured robotics and also sports medicine. She was incredibly impressed because she wasn't aware that some of these programs were still in existence in the high schools. And so very, very proud that the Auburn School District continues to focus a lot of attention, and that's where a good number of the jobs are going to be in the future, and there is a great need for them now. We, in my opinion, did a disservice to some of our students previously, and when we were focusing on you had to have a 4-year degree, and that means that we don't have people working in the trades right now, and there are a number of jobs that go unfilled. And so proud to host her, and she has promised to be back and willing to work with the City of Auburn on some initiatives going forward. So that is my report. Mr. City Attorney, do we have any need? Councilmember Wells?
Can you give me a second chance to talk about President Bush?
Certainly.
Okay, I just think that...
if you want to turn your microphone on.
Thank you. Today we begin to watch the ceremonies for President Bush. We're all of the age group that can remember the incredible contribution that he made, even though he only was in office for one term. The civility and gracefulness and forgiveness and still being competitive and everything is something that I need to learn from. And maybe we all share a little piece in it. But I need to work on that, and I was deeply moved today, and thank you for giving me a second shot at the microphone.
Certainly. Mr. City Attorney, do we have any need for a closed or executive session this evening? All right. Before 8 o'clock, we are adjourned.